Good morning, everybody. My name is Dr. Brooklyn Storm, and I'm all psyched up to be able to talk with you this morning about anxiety. And so you might have seen from our topic today, very intriguing, I know, 2 words that could potentially be quite toxic to your not only mental health but also your physiological health. Would you like to know what they are? I wonder if you can imagine, have a guess. Okay, I'm going to tell you then. The 2 words that can be quite toxic to your health are what if. And the reason for that is because when we engage in anxious thinking or when we engage in negative thinking, certain things happen to our brain. And we don't often talk about this because it can be a little bit boring. But you know me, I've got an inner geek. So I'm going to bring it out and teach you a little bit about the little bit that I know about what happens to the brain when we engage in negative thinking. And the first thing that you really need to think about is the role of the amygdala. So the amygdala is part of your brain, and it's responsible for a whole host of things. But in terms of anxiety and how thinking can be toxic for you, the role of the amygdala is very important. If we have somebody who's driving along, perhaps they're going along the freeway and they get stuck in a traffic jam, you know, their brain is going to perceive, you know, that there's a little bit of a threat. And then what happens is your brain will start to assess the threat and realise that it's actually more of an inconvenience than it is something to be worried about. And so what will happen is that person will, thank you James, good morning, hi Michael, hi Michelle, their brain will start to talk them through it, and they will calm themselves down and they'll relax, and it will be more an experience of irritation than anything else. So if you have the same situation where there's a traffic jam, but we've got somebody who has post-traumatic stress disorder in their background, good morning, how are you going? What happens is the amygdala gets confused and it has a lot of trouble differentiating between, you know, a real and a perceived threat. And so what happens is the body starts to mirror a whole host of anxiety responses and anxiety reactions. Now it just works the person up into quite a state and makes it really hard for them. So even though there's not really a threat, there's nothing really to be worried about, there's nothing really to be scared of, this person's brain has interpreted that actually there is. So there's been a misunderstanding or a miscommunication there. The other thing that's really important to know, good morning Kim, how are you going, is that the role of the thalamus in anxiety and thinking is also really important. So the role of the thalamus is basically, how can I put this really easily? It's responsible for sensory stimulation and sensory processing of information. So what happens with the thalamus, kind of like the amygdala, sometimes it can get confused between what's a real threat and what's a perceived threat. So if you're sitting there and you're thinking to yourself, what if this happens? What if this happens? And you've already got a background of anxiety, the thalamus is going to produce a whole bunch of physiological responses to protect you from a threat that it's perceiving that you're having, when actually there's not really a threat there at all. So the role of thinking is very, very important because it has a very clear and a very direct and specific response on your body, on your physiological well-being. And if you're interested in looking at this a little bit more, there's a whole bunch of research that's been done on the role of stress and cortisol as well. And all of this is linked to thinking. So when we're talking about toxic thinking, this is what I'm talking about, guys. It doesn't have to be like this. You just need a good therapist. You need to, you know, if it's not therapy, that's your thing, that's fine. Maybe you just need a good Reiki person or a good hypnotherapist or whatever it is. But you need to find your thing so that you can change that thinking. And when you do that, you're going to experience a reduction in psychological and physiological symptoms of stress. And wouldn't that be nice? I mean, there are some people out there who battle with this for years and years and years. And some of it is brought about because of the brain itself actually getting confused between real and perceived stresses. So do yourself a favor, check yourself, start keeping a log, track, you know, what you're finding to be a trigger for your anxiety, identify what that is, identify that thought that's going through your mind, and then reflect on it and think, okay, was this a real threat or was it just a perceived threat, and go from there. Because awareness or self-awareness is going to be the key in your recovery. It's really hard to do. As I said before, you know, in psychology, wellness is absolutely possible, but it's not going to happen from just catching up and having a chat with your therapist once a week. You actually need to go home and do the work, and I think that's where a lot of people struggle. But anyway, that's that. So if you have any questions at all about anxiety and about toxic thinking, of course you're most welcome to give us a call. The number is 87652434. Hey Karen, how are you going? It's nice to see you this morning. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope everybody has a really special Australia Day, and that you all take some time out for yourself. Sorry, just had a little bit of a Wi-Fi glitch there, but I was just saying thank you very much for joining me. Hey Desley, how are you going? I will try and come to dance tonight. I'll just have to see how I go because I'm working back late. But anyway, I hope you all have a really great Australia Day if I don't see you beforehand, and I'll catch you on Tuesday. Bye.